Agora. Okay, thank you so very much. And Ananda Bihari, I just want to thank Adipurusha Prabhu. You know, it's just so amazing every time I come on in the mornings. And I know that Adipurusha Prabhu will be there, and he's such a support system for everyone there. And he's been doing it for so many years. He's so consistent and so disciplined in his desire to serve the devotees. And I just really want to appreciate him, because yeah, it's devotees do services, and oftentimes we don't take the time. At least I don't take the time to say thank you. Thank you very much. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. So Adipurusha Prabhu, he chanted. Did he chant? Did I hear him chant Radhamadava? Don't think I heard him chant that. Did he? He usually does. Did he chant Radhamadava?
Does
He
in a very heartfelt way. He does it.
okay. I always get touched by when he chant the prayers to Guru Shri the Guru Gurudev. I always get touched by that. He closes his eyes and he gets all involved in chanting the prayers to Srila Prabhupada. So that's very nourishing. Hari Hari. Okay, so we're going to be reading today. Today is the day after, and everyone is in spiritual bliss. I'm guessing everyone is in the spiritual world this morning. So let's hear what Muchukunda says. Okay, so we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 51, and we're starting with 43 through 45. Yes. Hari Hari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchavam Narotamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Muhurdayat Nasta Prashu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naishtaki. So text 43. Now do you want to pull it up, Prabhu, or do I just chant the verse?
You can chant. I'm going to pull up quickly. Don't wait
Okay.
for.
All right. Varan Vrineshva Rajashe Sarvam Kaman Dadam Mite Mam Prashano Janakaschin Na Buyori Ati Sochitam. Srila Prabhupada's translation. Now choose some benediction from me, O saintly king. I will fulfill all your desires. One who has satisfied me need never again lament. Interesting. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The Acharyas explain that we lament when we feel incomplete, when we have lost something, or when we fail to achieve something desirable. One who has satisfied Krishna and thus attained the Lord's mercy will never be troubled in these ways. Lord Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure, and he enjoys sharing his spiritual bliss with all living beings. We need only cooperate with the Supreme Lord. Beautiful verse. Verse 44. Shishuka vacha uktastam pranamyaha muchukundo mudanditaha yatva narayanam deva gargavakyam anushmaram. Srila Prabhupada's translation. Shukadeva Goswami said, Muchukunda bowed down to the Lord when he heard this. Remembering the words of the sage Garga, he joyfully recognized Krishna to be the Supreme Lord, Narayan, Lord Narayan. The king then addressed him as follows, Srila Prabhupada's purport. Although the Lord here appears as four-handed Narayan, we may say that Muchukunda was addressing Sri Krishna. All of this is taking place within the context of Krishna Leela. the pastimes of Lord Krishna. It is well known to Vaishnavas that the four-handed form of Vishnu, okay, let's do this, or Narayan are expansions of Sri Krishna. Thus, within the pastimes of Lord Krishna, there may also appear Vishnu Leela, the activities of Vishnu. Such are the qualities and activities of the Supreme Godhead, deeds that for us would be extraordinary and even impossible are commonplace, effortless pastimes for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Sridhar Swami informs us that Muchukunda was aware of the prediction of the ancient sage Garga in that in the 28th millennium, the Supreme Lord would descend. According to Acharya Vishwanatha, Garga Muni further informed Muchukunda that he would personally see the Lord. Now it was all happening. And last text 45. Shri Muchukunda Vacha Vimohitoyam Jana Ishamaya Twadiyaya Twam Nabachte Anartajik Shukaya Dukha Ravavesh Veshusha Sajate Griheshu Yoshit Purushashta Vanchita. Okay, I can do I'm sorry, Sri Muchukunda, okay. Sri Muchukunda said, "Oh Lord, the people of this world, both men and women, are bewildered by your illusory energy. Unaware of their real benefit, they do not worship you, but instead seek happiness by entangling themselves in family affairs, which are actually sources of misery." Srila Prabhupada purport. Muchukunda immediately made it clear that he is not going to ask the Lord for material blessings. He had advanced spiritually far beyond those who try to exploit religion for all kinds of material benefits. Artha means value, and the negation of this word, anartha, means that which is valueless or useless. Thus, the term anartha drik indicates that those whose vision is focused on valueless things, who have not understood what actual artha or value is, all that glitters is not gold. And Muchukunda here emphatically states that we should not ruin our spiritual chances by entangling ourselves in the fool's gold of bodily relationships. We are meant to love the Lord. Hari Bol. Om Ganati Mirandasya, Ganagana Shalakaya, Jakshu Unmilitam Yena, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam, Stabitam Yena Bhutale, Swayam Upakadamayam, Tadati Swapadantikam, Vandeham Shri Guru, Shri Yuta Parakamalam, Shri Guru, Vaishnavanscha, Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarabhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastude Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Sabhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Shatarane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Tinamani Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shatatmane Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Iti Namane Jai Gaura Hari Hari Again, thank you very much, devotees, for being here after the bliss of last night. And I said, wow, everybody's going to be, Goloka somewhere there or somewhere with Lord Nityananda still this morning. So everybody's just really like exuberated from the evening they had last night. And here we're going to hear about desires from Muchakunda, this beautiful dialogue between Krishna and Muchakunda. And in this text 43, Krishna is speaking to Muchakunda and he's offering him, benediction. So the Lord is giving Muchakunda an opportunity to make any request from him. So in the translation, Krishna expresses to Muchakunda, I will fulfill your desires. I will fulfill your desires. And then he goes on to say that one who has satisfied me, because Muchakunda satisfied him by killing Kalekanya. And so, that Krishna, we all been hearing this whole pastime. And so we know that just by Muchakunda waking up and burning this demon, that actually connected Krishna with him to give him, to now be able to say to him, okay, I want to give you a benediction. I want to reciprocate with you. And then Prabhupada gives us a principle. We get this, we get this bhakti principle of one who has satisfied Krishna will never again lament. And so when I read that, I was looking at it last night and I was thinking, oh, Krishna, that's kind of interesting. I remember once Burjan Prabhu, we were in Vrindavan, Ekavir Prabhu and myself, and we were speaking with him, and he was asking us about the Krishna book. And I remember he asked me, had I read the Krishna book? How much had I been involved in it, in reading the Krishna book? And that was some years ago. And at the time, or maybe the question he asked me is, how many stories are in the Krishna book? That's the direct question. And I was like, I don't know, because I really didn't know at the time. And he said, you don't know? I said, no. He said, then how will you know about what happened with Muchakunda? So I was just like thinking, Muchakunda, oh, where's that coming from that he's asking me this question? I was speaking about Muchakunda. And then later he expressed that Muchakunda, he got this amazing benediction from Krishna to get all his desires fulfilled. And he used that to talk about desires. And he was explaining to us, to both of us, he was saying, desires, this is an interesting thing in Krishna consciousness. Everyone wants to kind of direct all their desires to Krishna, which is the ultimate goal. However, when we speak about Krishna and we speak about the jiva evolving, he said, it's best to just be real and just be honest, about the different desires that we may have. And so I always remember that very brief conversation with him. And so today I want to be very honest in how I present whatever I'm presenting about these few verses, because there is that understanding of just focusing on the bhakti principle, which here is expressed that if we satisfy Krishna, then there's no need to lament. There's no need to lament at all. And because Muchakunda had satisfied Krishna, so Krishna was now offering him, to satisfy whatever it is that he wanted. In bhakti, something that I guess, has become more prominent in my own consciousness is this verse by Rupa Goswami, where he says, Ado Shara Tata Sado Sangha Tata Bhajana Kriya, where he is giving the different levels of bhakti. and how we are evolving in with those different levels. And so these verses, these 3 verses, will help us or help me to understand where I'm at in this process of bhakti, and how do I understand this very important principle that when we take full shelter of Krishna, Krishna reciprocates, and Krishna is willing, he's there to give us whatever it is that we personally want, whatever we might be choosing at this particular time in our lives. So Rupa Goswami, he explains that in the beginning of this process of bhakti, which all of you are aware of, that there has to be some faith. There has to be some faith to practice. And when I kind of, in the work that I do with devotees and non-devotees, I find that this faith in fully taking shelter of Krishna, fully being absorbed in Krishna, it's like an ongoing process. Like devotees get tested often with their faith, often. And this is the beginning stage of bhakti. And so I will share some of the ways that I've seen over the years that we've all been tested in practicing our faith and really imbibing this faith within us. And so the next stage of our coming to this process of fully taking shelter of Krishna, where we never need to lament. Rupa Goswami says that the next stage is associating with pure devotees of the Lord. And so that's why I was appreciating Adapurusha this morning when he chants the Gurvastakam, because that's just so important in our lives as devotees, to be able to connect, very deeply with some of these prayers, because these prayers are given to us by pure devotees of the Lord, and they have experienced the Lord. And so by being able to associate with these pure devotees, even by hearing these prayers, hearing these songs, hearing a devotee chant these songs, that actually increases our faith. And we may not be aware how it's doing that, because it can seem subtle that, oh, how's my faith getting stronger? However, because these prayers are coming from pure devotees of the Lord, that is a direct connection for us. And then, of course, the next stage is that we then get connected to a spiritual master, right? So somebody can come on this call and just hear Adipurusha Prabhu chanting these prayers, and they become curious. What's he singing? What's going on? And that curiosity will help that person to eventually come to a time and place where they will be connected to a bona fide spiritual master. And that bona fide spiritual master will then guide such persons in the process of bhakti, the things that we do. And we know that there are 9 processes. And so that spiritual teacher, that spiritual mentor, will encourage us to hear and chant, and to do that on a daily basis, and to do it in such a way that we can actually know that our hearts are opening, our hearts are awakening. And then we can understand that, oh, my faith in knowing that Krishna, that if I do these things, I will be satisfying Krishna, and I won't have to ever lament, that will become stronger as we go on in the process. And then the next stage, after meeting the spiritual master, is then, and this, Srila Prabhupada is speaking about this in one of the texts. He's explaining that then we become free from unwanted habits. We become free from anartha nivritti, and we become fixed in devotional service. So anartha nivritti happens. And I can say, like most of the many devotees are in this stage of evolving in bhakti. So to come to this absolute stage of One who has satisfied me, never again lament. Never again lament. That is a very advanced stage of being a lover of Krishna. Very advanced stage. That stage, even in the stage of Bhav, as we know, in one of the pastimes with Bart Maharaj, there was still like this tinge. There was still some hankering, even though we know this pastime as it evolves. We understand that there's always some hankering for affection, and sometimes that affection is reposed not directly in the Supreme Lord. And so this desires, where Krishna is saying to Muchukunda, I'm going to fulfill all your desires. So Muchukunda, because he's a king, he could have a slew of desires. Even though he's saying these amazing prayers, Krishna is fully aware that he has different desires. And so now he's offering that to Muchukunda. And of course, we learn what Muchukunda chooses, what kind of desires Muchukunda will eventually say to Krishna, okay, this is what I want. And so each and every day, all of us are given benedictions from the Lord. Each of us, every day, we are given some benediction from the Lord to make a choice in which desire we want to fulfill for that particular day, right? So like, for example, we get up in the morning and, the first thing we do, hopefully for most of us, is call on the holy names of the Lord, chant the holy names of the Lord. And that's a great benediction that Srila Prabhupada has arranged for us to receive by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to call in the holy names of the Lord. Yet we have a choice in whether we do that or not, right? We can decide, okay, this morning I may have other things that I need to do. I may not be able to just sit and chant 16 rounds in the mornings. It's a requirement. At the same time, the reality is some people may not be able to do that. And so constantly Krishna is offering us different benedictions in terms of the process of Krishna consciousness. And each day we make a choice. Each day we make a choice to, okay, how will I reciprocate with Krishna today? So here we are. Krishna is offering Muchukunda a benediction to fulfill whatever it is that he wants. And from that, we will see what Muchukunda, how he reciprocates with Krishna. And so there's a couple of stories I wanted to share in relationship to this, because Prabhupada says in the purport he says that the acharyas explain that we lament when we feel incomplete. So again, back to faith, back to Shraddha. Unless we have full, absolutely motivated desires to fully just please Krishna, then we will feel incomplete. And even though someone is given the mercy of getting the benediction from the spiritual master, the spiritual teacher, the spiritual mentor, that tinge of having different desires separate from Krishna will be there until one comes to that perfect stage. And is the mercy of the spiritual master, the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, the mercy of our respective spiritual mentors, that's helping us to keep that focus of, the goal is prema. And yes, the consciousness needs to develop to that. However, until the consciousness is there, there will be some incompleteness. And so when I connect with devotees, and I connect with devotees that are feeling that incompleteness, I know that devotee needs care and compassion. I know that because that's what we learn in Bhakti, that everyone actually is looking for the shelter ultimately of Krishna. At the same time, there is an incompleteness because we haven't yet, in most cases, I'm sure there are some devotees on the skull that's on that platform, but in my case, I haven't yet reached that platform. And so there may still be some incompleteness. So Prabhupada then says, Prabhupada is so very clear, so very focused and concise. He says, when we have lost something, so yes, whenever this, there's so much loss in this world, and devotees are not exempted from that. Devotees have so many things that they lose all the time. And it's not just the loss of a person. There are many different kinds of losses that devotees are experiencing. Devotees, they sometimes lose their communities. Sometimes they lose their friends. Don't that count as complete? Sometimes I feel like a complete mess. Okay, that's from Jeffrey. Does that count as incomplete? Harbo, Jeffrey Prabhu, thank you so very much. I think that's based on you. The beautiful thing is that we're all connected to Krishna. So even though we may have feel some incompleteness, which most of us probably do, I know I do at times, the fact is that we have that umbrella. We know that, okay, with Krishna, you're there for us. We understand that. Just like Krishna is there for Muchakunda, the king who had all these desires, different desires. And Krishna was aware. And so Krishna now is going to say, okay, what do you want? Which of those desires do you want to fulfill? And so, yeah, Prabhupada, he always gives us like the umbrella of bhakti. He gives us like the highest understanding of how to connect with the Lord. And at the same time, Srila Prabhupada, in his personal example, he was very aware that there were many devotees that were in this incomplete state or incomplete stage of consciousness. And so he explains here, when we're incomplete is when we have lost something, when we fail to achieve something desirable. So I'm guessing most of us have been there, even as we're, attempting to be devotees, we're aspiring to be devotees. We know Krishna shelter is there. We often lament from the things that we may lose. And that's not something for us to be guilty or ashamed of. That's actually very real in a life of an evolving sadhaka, that yes, there will come times when we will have to look at our different desires, our different attachments, and see how much we're really connected to them. And as we explore that, we will also be able to look at, okay, in terms of these different stages of evolving in bhakti, where am I with that? And of course, we all know at the end of the day, the mercy of the spiritual master is what will help us, right, to come to this eventual platform of prema. And so in the next verse, in text 45, Muchakunda is, I'm sorry, in text 44, now Shukadev Goswami speaking, and Shukadev is saying, Muchakunda bowed down to the Lord. Okay, when he saw Krishna, he bowed down. Most of us, when we went to the temple last night, if we had that opportunity to do that, as soon as we walk in the temple, we get the opportunity to bow down to the Lord, right? When we bow down, that increases our faith, just by being able to get down. There's many people that come to the temple and, they are not able to bow down because their consciousness may not be at that place yet where they can accept, some spiritual authority or have that awareness that the Supreme Personality of that they're coming into an environment with the Lord's devotees and also with the Lord himself and Srimati Radharani herself. So they may not be aware of that. And so therefore they may not be able to bow down. Muchakunda was very aware. So he bowed down immediately. So that's a qualification for Muchakunda to get his desires fulfilled. And so Prabhupada says here, he remembered the words of Garga, of the sage Garga, and he joyfully recognized Krishna to be the Supreme Lord. So here now is a devotee, right? He's remembering the words of Gargarishi, who we know that he's such an important personality in the Leela of Krishna, because he was the astrologer that gave Nanda Maharaj all the information about who Krishna is. And so here we are learning some history that Muchukunda knew, because he was told that that he would personally meet Krishna from Gargarishi. And then Prabhupada in the purport, something I found that was important here is that within the pastimes of Lord Krishna, there may also appear Vishnu Leela, the activities of Vishnu. Such are the qualities and activities of the Supreme Godhead. These deeds, which they appear extraordinary and even impossible, of course, are commonplace, effortless pastimes of the Supreme Lord. So we know that Krishna, he expands, and we know that Vishnu and Krishna are the same. However, we also know that Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. So therefore, the activities that go on, Krishna, he expands himself to do that. And so Lord Vishnu, who is Krishna, he's now the one engaged in this pastime with Muchukunda. And Muchukunda is aware this is not an ordinary person that has come here to my cave, and this is not an ordinary person that's offering me benedictions. And he remembers. So Krishna says, I'm the source of all forgetfulness and remembrance. So Muchukunda is giving now this mercy to remember. And he remembers who Krishna is. He remembers Narayan. And here Prabhupada says, okay, this is like Krishna Leela and Vishnu Leela, but ultimately we know everything comes from Krishna. Everything originates from Krishna. And so whether a person is engaged in what appears to be Vishnu Leela or any other aspect of understanding Krishna, it all ultimately, all of these different Leelas, all of these pastimes, they come from the Supreme Lord. And so then Prabhupada says here that because Garga Muni, he had informed Muchukunda that he would personally see the Lord. So now it's happening. He already knew this was gonna happen, and so now he's understanding. Okay, he's offering me benedictions. He's offering me to fulfill all my desires. I'm guessing Muchukunda is like thoughtful. I heard from Gargarishi that I'm going to be able to meet with Krishna, meet with the Lord. So here he is in the form of Narayan. It must be that he's aware. Okay, this is the Lord. So now we'll hear what Muchukunda decides, what happens. Before we go to what Muchukunda decides, there's this beautiful short pastime. I heard this pastime from Sachinandan Swami recently. And it really caught my attention because, as you all know, Sachinanda Maharaj is very absorbed in the holy names of the Lord. And he's very creative in how he brings the holy names of the Lord to people that may not yet come to this platform of developing shraddha, of developing faith. They may not even be so much aware of what it means to have faith. And so Sachinanda Maharaj is very empowered to awaken the hearts of such souls. So he told this story about these two elephants. And he was explaining that in the marketplace, there's two elephants and they're walking through the marketplace. And one of the elephant, he barges through the marketplace and he takes all, his long snout. He starts making a ruckus, and he starts stealing in his trunk all of the different fruits from the vendors, all the apples and grapes and bananas and everything. He just like rushes through and like a stampede. And of course, he's huge, so all the vendors are very afraid, and everybody runs away. And he just takes all of the vendors different fruits. He totally manipulates the situation. And so he moves out. Then he takes everything and goes out of the marketplace. But then comes the second elephant. And the second elephant, he has the mahut, the person that that kind of tames the elephants. And he's on the top of the elephant. And I pray I'm sharing the story the way Satchinanda Maharaj, I'm not missing some important detail. So but however, there's a stick in the snout, in the trunk of this elephant that the mahut is guiding him. And so that elephant walks through that same marketplace, and he just walks through. He doesn't try to he doesn't try to destroy anything. He doesn't he sees, of course, all the fruits, but because he's being guided through this marketplace, he's able to just calmly walk through the marketplace. And he appears to be peaceful because he's being guided. And the mahut also gives him, some little some little fruit he gives to him, but he guides him in such a way that he's not making a destruction. So Satchinanda Maharaj says, the first elephant, it's like an unbridled mind. It's like a mind that's everywhere, it's out for destruction. And in some cases, we're carrying that mind and we're wrestling with that mind. And so these are like when we're going through these different stages of wanting to come to that place where we're fully in love with Krishna. We're often troubled by the mind. And so the second elephant is the elephant that's being cared for by this mahut. And this elephant, he's very calmly walking through the marketplace. So similarly, when we are aware, like in this case, Muchukunda, he was aware of this. He remembered what Garga Muni had shared with him. And because he remembered, he was able to calmly understand, this is the Supreme Lord in front of me. And here he is offering me any benediction. So I need to be really thoughtful about this. So similarly with us, when we receive guidance, we become much more thoughtful. The mind becomes much more calm. And we're able to go through that stage of anartha nivritti a little easier because we become aware that, okay, there's always going to be some disruption. Who's that SB Keshav Maharaj? He always talks of he has a class talking about disruption. So there's always some disruption that's going to come. And we become more prepared. And we understand that as we go through this process. And so the Srila Prabhupada then takes us into this next verse, which Muchukunda is saying, men and women are bewildered by your illusionary nature. So he's aware. He's like, ooh, Krishna is offering me benedictions, but you know what? I can't go to ask for anything material because I already know that that's just all illusory. So he's like, there has to be something else that Krishna can give to me. Certainly not anything that's a part of the illusory material world. And he explains that people are not aware of their real benefit. So unfortunately, most people in the world today, they're not aware of who they are. They're not aware of how much love there is for them once they connect with the Supreme Lord. They're not aware of that. But however, as devotees, as those of us that's been picked up by the spiritual master, that's been picked up by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we have an opportunity to be able to inspire such devotees, such persons that are not yet aware that they are devotees of the Lord. This is the mercy that Srila Prabhupada has given to us. And Krishna directly showing us, okay, Muchukunda, let me fulfill your desires. Let me fulfill whatever desire you have. And so Muchukunda, because he's aware, he can make the proper choice. He can make a proper decision. So and the last part of this verse where Muchukunda is explaining, he says that they're seeking happiness, and they're entangled in family life, and I wanted to address that a little bit, which is actually a source of misery. And so because I'm working with devotees, and I do a lot of work with premarital couples and with marital couples in our devotee sangha, in our devotee communities. It's devotees that are married. It's important to understand that there is a difference between a devotee that is married, that has Krishna in the center of their marriage. My spiritual master, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, used to say, marriage is like a triangle. Krishna is at the top of that triangle, husband and wife are on the two sides. When that's not there, then the Sanskrit word here is griheshu. Then yes, there will definitely be an unawareness of what family life is really all about. However, that requires compassion on our part as devotees to help such persons. Because even in our devotee community, someone may not properly have that understanding that grihastha life is meant for ultimately pleasing Krishna. Two souls are put together so that they can somehow or other dovetail all of their material desires in service to the Lord. And if we're not aware of that, then yes, it will be a very difficult journey, extremely difficult, because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, this material energy of mine is very difficult to overcome, very, very difficult to overcome. And so it's only with proper guidance, only when we come to that stage of anartha nivritti, that we're able to understand, yes, now I'm getting this mercy. And now how can I engage in this process of devotional service? And the last point Prabhupada makes here is all that glitters is not gold. I think devotees, we know that. All that glitters is not gold. Material life is hard. It's very difficult. And people are suffering in the material world. And we all know that. We know that now more than we ever did before. And so basically Prabhupada is explaining to us, how do we untangle ourselves? How do we entangle ourselves? And that's the question, my dear devotees, that I wanted to just close with. This mercy. We talked about, heard of Lord Nityananda's mercy yesterday. And so this mercy of untangling ourselves is coming from these great, these expansions of the Lord, these devotees that are representing the Lord. It's coming from taking shelter of the devotees. This is how we entangle ourselves, by taking shelter with faith, by taking shelter with understanding that Krishna consciousness is a process. And there may be times when I will lament, but it will not always be like that. And my lamentation ultimately will be for Krishna. Krishna, when, oh my dear Lord, when will I be able to see you? When will I be with you? And in that way, when we get that kind of lamentation, that kind of sweet lamentation, then we're experiencing that deep connection with the Supreme Lord. Until then, my dear friends, we need each other. We need each other. We need to help each other, because we may be experiencing some incompleteness. Thank you very much, my dear friends. Nitai Gora, Hari Hari, Hari Bol.
Thank you, Vraja Leela, for making us feel so complete. Like you said, anything without Krishna is incomplete. Marriage is incomplete without Krishna. Our service, our work, anything we do without Krishna is incomplete. How wonderful. What a wonderful point you made throughout your class. Thank you. Okay, time to reflect. It's a limited time.
Sorry about that. You said 15 minutes before.
Yeah.
I need that training, Adipurusha Prabhu, how to make it very concise.
Hare Krishna, very important point. You made it again and again. We can only reflect that we have a choice what we desire. And Krishna's granting everyone's desire. And at one point he might say, all right, what do you want? You go to the restaurant, then you read the menu, and you see what the options are, and at one point the waiter comes and says, okay, what do you want? So you made the point that if we're aware of the options, then we can make an intelligent choice. Very nice point. So we hear from Scripture, and Scripture explains that this is the best thing you can choose. That's all. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hi, Gora Haribol.
Our Bhagavatam is our menu. Menu.
Hari Hari. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Jai Shri Murli Ki Jai. Jai Nitai and Bhava Bhakti, you saw them, the pujaris? That was a perfect triangle. They were on the sides, and Krishna, Radha Murlidhar, Shigur Chandra, they were in the middle. So to illustrate Vraja Leela Devi's point, thank you. Such a wonderful class.
That was my spiritual master's point.
Yes, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj Ki. Okay, Bhima Prabhu, how is your horse sacrifice going? How's the horse doing?
I'm the one who's being sacrificed, Prabhu. The horses live a better life than me. Vraja Leela, Hare Krishna, wonderful class. It's wonderful to be, to be able to accomplish my morning activities and at the same time have the association, the warm, there's such warmth to your teaching. I feel very comforted, despite the fact that it's 15 degrees here. I just wanted to say that one time there was another Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's. I just want to very quickly reinstate a very important point. I can't express how important it is in regards to marriage. That this young man and young devotee was getting married, and it was myself and a Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's disciple, and I can't remember his name. He's from New Jersey, has a wonderful, beautiful family. And we were sitting on the front stoop at the Boston Temple, and the young devotee, I always joke with him. So he asked me, he goes like, I'm getting married. He goes like, what's the secret of a successful marriage? And the other devotee, I said, I don't know. Personally, I don't know. But the other devotee, who's had a wonderful Krishna conscious marriage, very strong, he said that always remember that your wife is not your wife. Your wife is Krishna's. And that the wife has to remember that you are not her husband, but you are Krishna's. And that both of you are Krishna's together. And there's that triangle, that it's not you and your wife and Krishna, or you and your husband and then Krishna, but there's you, your wife is Krishna's, that you are treating her, your spouse, as Krishna's child, and that your spouse is treating you, hopefully, as Krishna's first. So when we say that I'm yours and you are mine in sort of a Valentine's Day type of maxim, but that ultimately that our significant other is actually Krishna's. Their significant other is Krishna's. I hope I explained that right, but the way in which he said it at that time, being someone who practices it, it just made so much sense, and I never forgot that, of course. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, he always used to share with his grihastas, you are gifts for each other. So you're a gift. You're a gift for your wife, and your husband is a gift. The wife is a gift to the husband. And how do you take care of a gift? When somebody that cares about you gives you a gift, how do you take care of it? So he always would remind all of us, make sure you take care of the gift because it's given from Krishna.
And remind your spouse that you're a gift to them.
Yes,
absolutely. Absolutely.
I say that all the time. It doesn't work. She goes, I want to return. Do you still have the receipt? I want to make a return, is what I get. Yeah, I think the big thing is that, of course, the worst thing we can ever do is commit Vaishnava aparad. And when we view our wife as our wife, or our husband as our husband, the tendency, of course, because you've broken that intimate barrier, you know each other's buttons, you press them, offense happens. But if we can always just remind ourselves that Krishna is right there in her heart, in his heart, and that whatever you say to them, you're saying to Krishna's dear most, that this is the true test. Marriage is such a chance for rapid advancement, because you're never in, at least in my marriage, you're never in the grand delusion when you're married, because your spouse will be right there to tell you where you're going off, where you're going wrong. You always have someone who knows you intimately enough to say, you're full of it, Prabhu, type of thing. So it's a wonderful thing, and it is such a gift that a spouse can actually help you. It's not something that holds you back from Krishna consciousness, that it's actually something that you make rapid progress if you always remember that Krishna is inspiring, whispering in your spouse's heart to say such and do such and such. And of course, our reaction to it, our response to it, it will be the telling point of whether we are developing tolerance, humility. One of the reasons why Ananda Bihari said something about a horse sacrifice is because my wife told me before she left for work, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And because I thought I knew better, I did something and a horse got into the grain. And when that happens, you can lose a horse and you have to sit up with the horse for 3 nights and keep them soaked in ice. It's a long, complicated process, but I just got through my second night. And she said, this all happened because you're not humble, because you won't accept good advice, that you think you know. And, I was like, my ears were ringing with, this is Krishna speaking, this is Krishna speaking. This isn't my wife haranguing me or giving me a curtain lecture. This is Krishna saying things that happen to me that I have to pay for is because I did not accept good advice, whether it be from Shastra, from a fellow devotee, or from our dearmost spouse. So thank you for your class, Prabhujini. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your input, Vima Prabhu. It's always appreciated.
Thank you.
Hare Hare.
Final instructions for us, please. Final one-liner that we can take away.
Care for each other.
Jai. Take it seriously, dear devotees. Care for each other and be humble and let Krishna speak to you through whoever you're dealing with. It was nice seeing you. Have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Vraja Leela, bowing down to you. Please say Haribol to Ekavira. We miss him. We love him.
I will. As soon as he gets back, I'll definitely let him know.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you and thank your team for keeping these classes every day. I really did think Nityananda's appearance today, okay, we won't see so many devotees, and just to see everyone's bright face and see your smile, and it's just so beautiful. Thank you to all of you that came this morning. Thank you very much.
Srimad Bhagavatam, the king of books, Hare Krishna, Ki Jai. Ki Jai. Vraja Leela and Yura Prabhu's Ki Jai. Shilpad Ki Jai. Everybody on this call, Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Yes. All pearls strung in the